Welcome to the City of Heroes podcast, a resource for the casual Heroes gamer.
Your hosts, Chooch and Viv, are here to explain basic and advanced features of CoH,
as well as give tips and answer your questions about this great MMO. Something that I should have put up front, so I will, let me grab the details. So, something that we mentioned on Thursday's live stream on Vivid Muse's Twitch channel is Dacy's Halloween Extravaganza, the Witch's House, something that she put on the last couple of years. And like last year, has expanded the Witch's House again. We've got new creatures haunting the halls. And let me read what she wrote in our Discord. Live haunts start this afternoon, which this is time shifted. Sorry. Today is October 22nd, Saturday. So this weekend officially starts the haunts at the haunted house. Not all creatures will be out for every visit, so please come back so you can get to see them all, especially when we're giving away the treats, worth 10 to 20 million each. And you get 4 if you go through each of the house's 4 paths, each worth a quick transfer over to see. So this takes place on the Everlasting Shard. The Witch's House is a base. So when you go up next to a base portal and you go to enter, the code is BOO, BOO -17189. It is now open. Live haunts starting today. Live haunts Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern. Weekends, 1 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern. And treats, trick-or-treat giveaway as the October 30th from 7 to 11 p.m. Eastern. And October 31st, Halloween night, 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern. Truly an experience like no other. Like I said, if you haven't done it in the past, this is so much fun. So many people come out, and because her bases are so detailed and so creative, it's really, really a good time.
Agreed. The Witch's House last year, that's when I really realized what people were able to do with supergroup bases now. I was just absolutely flabbergasted.
And last year, they discovered 2 things. She hit the limit on items you can place in a base. I don't remember what the number was. It's really high, though. 10,000, 20,000 items, something ridiculous.
It's so high that I don't think my brain can...
And maximum number of characters in a base at one time, which I believe was 300 during the costume contest. There were actually people couldn't get into the base, and we didn't realize that was a thing.
Did you? I was twiddling a knob are they doing the costume contest inside the base again, or are they doing it in an open zone?
You know, the costume contest is put on by the Dawl House. X5 and Dawl put that on, and let me look real fast. X5 had announced that they are doing the contest on, here we go. Here's a little flyer for it. Xanthia and the Dawl House presents Sunday, the 30th of October, Halloween costume contest, Everlasting. Okay, so they're going to do it in Croatoa.
That'll be fun.
So, yeah, Everlasting Shard in Croatoa, Sunday, October 30th. There is no time listed. Oh, X.
Fine,
there's no but there will be over 1 billion influence given away. Okay, 9 p.m. Eastern, but the location may change. We were discussing that.
Okay.
All right. So I'll update the patch notes with whatever updates they do. And you can also hit up the Dawl House's Discord, which I'll put in the show notes because it's a long code.
You can hit our Discord too, and we'll share the information there.
100%. Yeah.
And that's also, folks, when we're gathering questions for, like, when we have celebrities like Bopper come, that's where we're asking for those questions. If we don't know in advance, like when we're dropping one episode, if we don't have something planned for the next, then the Discord is a way to keep up on what we're doing, pretty much. But yeah, put both of the Discords in there, ours and Dawl's.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the City of Heroes podcast. We've got issue 27, page 5, patch notes. As usual, this is Chooch, and I'm joined by my lovely wife, Vivid Muse.
Hi.
And this episode, we've got a special guest, one of our homecoming devs, Bopper.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Doing great,
Hey,
thanks.
Welcome.
I want to thank you so much for joining us. Bopper works on, you work on power stuff, right? Superpowers.
I do.
So you're not doing costume designs and you're not doing that stuff, but the actual button.
I try not to. Yeah, I do more of the get the numbers right, make sure the mechanics are there. You know, I leave all the art stuff to other people.
Right on. Very cool. We know this page 5 has come really quickly off the heels of page 4, it seems like. You had mentioned that there's concurrent development stuff happening, right? Different people doing lots of different things.
That's right. Yeah, page 4 went a bit long with, just real life issues that kind of dragged things out a bit. So development was a little bit slower going from, beginning to live. But during that time, we still worked on things in parallel. So a lot of these powers or quality of life ideas were being developed on the side. They were obviously not going to be lumped into page 4. But once page 4 was released, we were able to hit the ground running and just went straight to beta with page 5, all the power stuff.
Very cool. And I think we're just going to jump straight into it. The page 4 patch notes, I think it was, just over 2.5 hours?
Well, can I ask Bopper a question?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm here for.
I was just wondering, is there anything like in your background and stuff like that? Like what led you to do this? Are you a math nerd? Are you a programming nerd? Like what led you to doing this completely like voluntary, like there's no pay included? It seems like it would be a huge responsibility and project. What led you to donate your time like this?
Well, my background is a bit of a math nerd. I'm an engineer by trade. I am competitive as well. So when it comes to gaming, I'm one of the min-maxers, out there. So I try to find where I can maximize my capability in a game. So I get really into the details on how the game works. So I devoted a lot of time to testing just on my own and learn more about how this game works and what does this mean? What does that mean? And try to get more information. So over time, I just learned quite a bit about it. I have a bit of a knack for testing. That's also in my my real life background. I do flight test engineering. So I just applied, my trade to the game, and as part of my hobby, it just grew from there. And I was eventually asked if I had interest in joining the team, and I did. It was an opportunity I definitely didn't want to pass up. But overall, my skill set has nothing to do with the game. I know next to nothing about how games should work. I'm not a big, game player outside of this game and, other games I played in the past. But I wouldn't say I have the most extensive MMO background. I wasn't playing Warcraft or anything like that. It was this game. And then, when this game shut down, I, had a brief, relationship with DCUO, just to kind of get my fix for superheroes.
Laid there for a little while, I think.
Absolutely. So when I came back to it, I just, the love and just how much I missed it, it really took a hard shift with my hobbies. And it's like I wanted to focus so much on this game, and it, just took my time there, and I grew from it. Here I'm at.
Very cool. So you played live.
Go ahead, Chooch.
Oh, I was just you did play live. What did you have a main shard?
I don't recall it. I was not as into the game or the forums or it like I am now back then. I was younger, as a little bit more casual. I found a super group, but honestly, I can't even tell you which shard I played.
Right on.
I think I only played about 1.5 to 2 years on live. So my homecoming time is far exceeds
Oh,
what I
okay.
did back then.
Right on.
Is the one, and was that at the tail end? Like, did you play it when it sunset or in the middle somewhere?
It was in the middle. So my friend introduced me to the game. So I knew of the game early on, but I wasn't really into it. I was more of a Madden player than
Sure.
MMO. So eventually he got me to come on when AE came out. So issue 14.
Oh,
Because he
fun.
knew how, just the games we played. I always liked designing missions and,
Mhm.
run campaigns and that sort of thing. So he got me hooked with that, but it turned out I never really got into AE. It's just I got into the game. So I played for about 1.5 years, which I think took us to when Incarnate started to be introduced, like the
Mhm.
alpha Incarnates, but not
Yeah.
tier 4. I think it was like 2 tiers at the time. So around then is when I kind of stepped away and started, refocusing on school and such. And then, the game shut down, and I missed out on
Sure.
it for about a decade.
Yeah. Didn't we all?
Yeah,
And did you hear about Homecoming right away when it
that same friend, he
when the
called
leak
me
and
up
everything?
and said the game was back and you were able to play it. I was so disappointed. I was out of town at the time, so I
Oh,
couldn't wait to, drive back home and download the game. So that was late May of 2019.
yeah. I remember a
Cool,
few.
actually, yeah.
Oh, when I got the word.
Oh, got you. Right on. Well, that's not too late, though. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember a few different threads with friends of, I'm not near a computer. I can't. What are you seeing? What it?
like,
They're wanting to
sorry,
live
family, I know I really see you,
vicariously.
but I gotta go.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to speak for the people of Homecoming and say thank you, Bopper. I'm so glad that you all connected and that you're a part of this, because it's just been so fun. And I think one of the things, like, I honestly did not expect to be playing the game. What is it? 2019. So 3.5 years after Homecoming stood up and we logged in for the first time. It never occurred to me. I thought we would have maybe a month before we were shut down.
Right.
So having it go this long, and then y'all adding new content and power sets and all of these things, it's just like the
Yeah.
freest, most wonderful candy that I've ever has ever offered me. I cannot deny it. It's so yummy. But thank you so much for everything that you're doing. I'm so glad it's something that fits into what's fun for you, because it what you talk about is, most of it makes no sense to me. The min-maxing and stuff, that's one of the last few terms that I'll understand in that conversation.
Right.
But, I just it's one of the things I love about this game, is that it gives so many people so many different things that they love.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool to see your aspect of it too.
And
behind the scenes.
the power set, the proliferation of the powers, and then these new powers that are coming out, is just blows me away that we're just getting this new stuff. Like, yeah. The community is amazing. The community has always been amazing. I think all of us have always said that there seems to be something different about the people that are drawn to this game.
Yeah.
Well, the team is definitely strong. I mean, shout out to everyone who participates. We have a lot of new devs. Cobalt's been around a little bit longer than myself, and we also have Player One and Caretaker, and there's so much work that is being done by them, and it's really nice quality and very exciting to see what's coming up. And we're adding more folks to the team as we speak, and we have plenty of plans coming down the line for new powers and power sets. So
Awesome.
Stay tuned.
Very cool. Did you want to jump into the patch notes, or there were a couple questions in our Discord? I don't know what order we should.
Well, I will let you decide.
Let's see if it. So we actually only had a couple questions. One from Primi. I read that the blitz and parkour stance animations were found in the game as part of work Paragon Studios were doing on the planned utility belt origin pool. So one, is this true? Do you know? And two, does this have any bearing or effect on the utility belt pool being developed and or released?
It's true those stances were already in the game. So we did bring them out. Cobalt ran with that. As far as the utility belt pool, that is still in the works. It'll just take time getting the right effects and deciding how we want that pool power set to look. So I have no ETA on when that would be released.
Sure.
It's not being worked on immediately, but it's something I keep poking at and taking a look. But where the graphics are right now, I'd say, yeah, we'll need to put some focus on it and decide on how we want it to look in the end. But it'll come eventually, that and gadgetry.
And gadgetry. Cool. Next question comes from Kyle. Hey, Kyle. My question is, questions are kind of cliche, but am curious. 1, in my opinion, City of Heroes has always been the best MMO that continued and continues today to add new stuff and fix things that don't really work well. Is there something another MMO does that you'd like to see COH implement as well?
Well, like I said, I have not played many MMOs, but going back to DCUO, two things I think I would like to see in the game is their movement powers, how they have the grappling hook and able to swing, as well as wall climb. I would love to see that get implemented in our game.
Very cool. Yeah, swinging would be awesome, and that would open up so many roleplay things. And I think from Champions Online, the only travel power that I missed was the tunneling.
Yep, that's what I was going to say. That's the only thing that I really missed from Champions is that you could tunnel like Bugs Bunny style. It was great. But I think City of Heroes does everything else better than either of those two games. So I can't even complain. I don't need a tunnel. I'm all right.
Kyle's question 2. Page 4 is still kind of new, and page 5 just came out. But is there anything the dev team is currently thinking about for the next update that you're allowed to talk about, of course? And do we usually know how soon after the update goes live do talks begin about what to add or fix next?
All right. Well, for the next update, we are, as standard, we are still looking at introducing some new power sets. We just got done with a partial revamp of Masterminds, which we'll get into here in a little bit when we touch on page 5 patch notes.
Yeah.
We're going to continue through that work, looking at the power sets that were not touched, as well as a general revamp of Masterminds. We've been trying for a while to do an even level of summons. As you know, you summon pets and they're levels below you. Want to bring that up to equal level. But with that, there comes a lot of balance concerns. We want to make sure that, okay, what are the scales at now? We're going to need to adjust some of their attributes, class files. And and that needs to be done in unison with the upcoming proc changes. So one of the issues we were running into early on, back when we first looked at Masterminds, I think it was on page 3, even though we had adjusted all of the even level scales for Masterminds, because procs weren't touched, and the way Purple Patch works, that was going to be a big boon on Mastermind performance. So we need to go back and look at how just bringing up Masterminds to be even level play with procs, and how can we make sure we're not, doing too much power creep in that regard. So
sure, yeah.
So we are looking at those two things right now for the next page. We have some power sets in mind, a couple of other smaller scale revamps of power sets that exist, and hopefully there's going to be plenty of new content. There's no stories in page 5 that were added to the game. There were a couple that just didn't quite meet our deadline needs, so those are going to be looked at again for the next page, and hopefully some other arcs as well. So right now that's vague, but it's what we're looking at for the next page. Hopefully sometime early enough next year.
Sure.
I really love the content you guys have created. It's been really interesting and fun.
Oh, thanks. I'm sorry, was there a second part to that question? Did I touch on it?
I think that was... Well, I was just saying, how long after a release do you start talking about new stuff? But it sounds like it's just a constant constant dev, right? You don't really have a start stop.
Right. Everything's in parallel. So a lot of stuff that came out in page 5, we were talking about and looking at back in page 3. So it's just when are things in a good enough state to go to beta, and you see if it'll, reach open beta and then eventually live. Sometimes things get, knocked off early on and get, looked at again in the future. But there's no serial development. Everything, there's no gap. Once we're done, now what's the next idea? Everything's kind of pre-planned, and it's just, all right, what's going to be best for the next page? And we start talking about that.
Very cool. I think those are the only questions we had.
All right.
Well, shall I get going on the patch notes?
Yeah. What is in this juicy update?
I'm not going to read every single line. The ones that get into little percentages. I'm probably not going to read percentages. I'm probably going to summarize in some places. And if I summarize something that you want to talk about or you want to expand on, Bopper, just feel free to interrupt.
Sounds fun.
Okay.
Can't wait to interrupt you.
Shooch is so good at it. I can't wait to see how you do.
Right?
Yeah.
So, comedy's all about timing, right? Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Nailed it.
Oh my gosh. Alrighty, well, let's get into these page 5 patch notes. This is issue 27, page 5, and there's a lot of fun stuff in here. The highlights, marquee features, Sentinel archetype revamp, Sentinel proliferation, Seismic Blast and stone armor, Dominator proliferation of illusion control, and PvP and supergroup bases, which I'm dying to try. So let's see, starting out with the powers and gameplay adjustments. We've got power set revamps for masterminds with mercenaries, necromancy, ninjas, and robotics. For melee, battle axe and fiery melee. For armor, fiery aura. And for support, force fields. Quality of life changes include level availability changes. Stealth toggle exclusivity removal. For character customization improvements, we've got holstered weapon system for Arachnos, assault, munition, mercenary, mastermind, refiles. Nope, rifles. Refiles? What the hell?
Refiles.
It's just too early to be messing up words, y'all. Wave 2 Ether Prestige rewards. Tier 1 is standard costume selection expanded. Tier 2 Legacy costumes enabled and selection expanded. Tier 3 is premium costumes enabled and effect reward additions. Tier 4 is deluxe costumes added. Pet 5 functionality added to Ether Accolade macro. And then there are various additions and enhancements. New mini signature vanity pet edition.
I love these.
Heckin' adorable. It's so cool. And there's just so much more, you guys. There's just more. Let's see, for the Sentinel archetype revamp, the changes to Sentinel attributes. I'm going to read some of this, not every bit of it. This is mainly to give listeners a chance to see what's changing. If you are like Bopper and you're a min-maxer and you want to know every little percentage, you're going to be reading this anyways. You're going to have this open with your calculator and your spreadsheet and whatever min-maxers use. I don't know. I don't really know. My brain doesn't expand that big.
And to see everything, we'll have a link on the show notes, but you can go to homecomingservers.com, and right there under the forums, you'll see patch notes. So it's really easy to find.
Yep, it is. So let's see. We have, so for the changes to Sentinel attributes, we've got ranged and melee damage modifier increases. We've got fixed, there's fixed PvP. There was a fixed to PvP ranged damage modifier. Ooh, 50% stronger. That's a big enough percentage to note.
That's not a fiddly bit.
Not a fiddly bit. Adjusted any damage scales that were set 50% too high to compensate.
Yeah, basically this one was a bug that existed for a while. The damage modifier was set too low, but we were compensating for it in the vials by setting the damage to be 50% higher. So since we were touching Sentinels already, I decided to just go through and fix it.
Nice.
So it shouldn't be too much of a change. You may find some epic range attacks that probably got stronger, but for the most part, we're just trying to make the powers do what they were intended to do.
Very cool. The base perception increased from 500 to 550 feet. Max perception increased a little over 100 feet.
In both cases, these are 10% increases.
10%, yeah. And that's just to balance things out as they should have been.
This is more to speak to kind of where we see the identity of a Sentinel. Sentinels kind of are soldiers who keep watch, so it made sense to give them a perception buff or a superior perception capability over other ATs.
Oh, nice. I like that. That makes sense. And then changes to the Sentinel inherent. Sentinels have an inherent resistance to perception and 2-hit debuffs. Oh, nice. Opportunity builds automatically at a rate of 100% per minute. Apologies for my phone beeping. Let me shut that up. Sentinels now have an inherent power called vulnerability. That was the opposite of shutting it up. I picked it up and it made more noise. Vulnerability consumes 50% of your opportunity to debuff a single target for 15 seconds. Vulnerability is auto-hit and ignores level differences. And vulnerability debuffs the following: damage resistance, defense, mes resistance, stealth, resistance to endurance, endurance discount, recovery, regen, 2-hit, and recharge. Removed old opportunity debuff effects, modes from Tier 1 and Tier 2 powers. Removed old inherent proc. Removed old offensive, defensive opportunity modes. Anything there you guys want to talk about?
Sure. Chooch, I'll start with you, but I can jump in with...
No, other than being excited to jump in and try it, because I haven't been on my Sentinel in a minute. And I really like Sentinels, and these changes look really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the goals for this revamp are fairly simple. We wanted to increase the damage and simplify the inherent. So it was important to keep as much of the identity intact as possible. So keeping the marked target mechanic was highly desired. One of the other things we want to do with the inherent, we wanted to give players full agency over the debuff. So we moved it out of the T1 and T2 attacks and just made it its own click power. So you use it when you want to at your convenience.
Cool.
We wanted to keep the nuisance of having to use a click to activate the debuff at a minimum. So we did set it to a 0-second cast time. So it's instantaneous. There is currently a redraw issue. We are looking at that, and hopefully we can address it in this page. But that's an unfortunate outcome from this. Another thing we wanted to do was expand on the identity of the Sentinel. So I kind of mentioned it earlier. Sentinels are a soldier who keeps watch. So we decided to play on that by giving Sentinels superior perception and an inherent resistance to perception and to hit debuffs. We also wanted to change how opportunity is built up. So instead of having to attack to generate opportunity, it recovers much like your endurance bar. Same base rate, 100% in a minute. This is useful as you can gain it while outside of combat, traveling between mobs, and allows you to use your non-attacks without fear of losing out on opportunity buildup. So we were thinking of these as quality of life improvements to the archetype, and hopefully it translates to the game.
Cool.
Yeah, it looks really promising. I mean, Chooch and I agree that Sentinels are fun to play anyways. I think they're really solid and fun. I play a lot of defenders and controllers, so I don't have as much of an expectation of up hide and stuff like that. Like, they are way tougher than what I usually play. But I just think they're super fun, and this is just like, I built a Sentinel, a Seismic Stone Sentinel. I just haven't played her yet, and this is just making me want to play her even more. We might have to change our plans for tonight's gaming group. So other changes, consistency pass completed on powers not following Sentinel design rules. Opportunity Strikes proc now ignores combat mods, purple patch in parentheses there. To normalize the changes made to the Sentinel inherent, Opportunity Strikes proc now grants 7.5 opportunity for regular and 10 opportunity for superior.
Yeah, and that change was mostly due to the change to the inherent. In-game, previously on live, you kind of had a 30-second cycle for using your opportunity. It took you, on average, about 15 seconds to build up your bar, and then you would debuff a target for 15 seconds, but over that 15 seconds, you were locked out. So you're looking at a 30-second period where you built up and used your debuff. On live previously, so I can't say on live anymore, in the previous build, this ATO gave you 25 opportunity for the regular version and 35 for the superior version. The speed at which you would build up your opportunity was roughly about 7 opportunity per second. So that proc basically gave you about 3.5 to 5 seconds worth of opportunity. So this change is just keeping more in line with that. It keeps it about 4 seconds and 6 seconds worth of opportunity buildup.
Awesome. And then for Sentinel Proliferation Seismic Blast, a new primary for Sentinels. The version does not have the Tombstone power, and it is instead replaced with Gravestone. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and read it because I'm really excited. I have been putting off Seismic forever, and I think that it's because I'm meant to play a Seismic Sentinel. It says you can manipulate earth and stone to defeat your foes. The crushing force of many earth powers can reduce a target's defense. Being of the earth, you are the most powerful while on the ground. While grounded, your attacks increase seismic pressure. As your seismic pressure increases, the cooldown of other seismic blast attacks is reduced, and your chances of triggering seismic shockwaves around you also increase. These seismic shockwaves will have a chance of knocking back foes and, while standing on the ground, empower some of your attacks. Rock Shards will have its area and damage increased. Seismic Force will decrease the cooldown of all recharging Seismic Blasts attacks by a moderate amount. Might will deal a large amount of damage. And I'm not going to read each of the descriptions for each of these, but the powers that we've gotten in this set are Encase, which is a ranged damage smash, Shatter, which is a ranged damage smash, Rock Shards is a ranged cone damage lethal, minus defense, minus special. I guess I wasn't reading the others. So on those others, the foes were being debuffed, jump, fly, and defense. And on this one, it's defense and special. If affected by seismic shockwaves, this power will halt the shockwaves. Upfront damage will be increased and damage over time accelerated. Foes will be knocked down. Range will be increased to 60 feet and arc to 40 degrees. Rock Shards grants 2 stacks of seismic pressure. Okay, so that's what we're stacking here at seismic pressure. Gotcha. And then Entomb is a range damage smash. So minus jump, minus fly, minus defense. Seismic Force is a self 2-hit damage range increase and special. Let's see. If affected by seismic shockwaves, this power will halt the shockwaves and will decrease the cooldown of the recharging seismic blast attacks by a moderate amount. And then we've got Upthrust, which is a targeted AoE, damage smashing, minus fly, minus defense, and a chance to knock down, which we all know. Oh, it's knock down, not knock back. Yay. Oh, but then the description says it can knock back at enemies.
Yeah, and that might actually be a typo because I believe Shockwaves is a vector knockdown, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
I'll check that for you right now. All right. Actually, it is just knockdown.
Okay. Cool.
It is actually vector knockdown, but it's the same magnitude that knockdown would do anyways. So Shockwaves does not do any knockback. It's impossible.
Fantastic. That'll keep me out of trouble with my tanky types. It should. I'm sure I'll get in trouble for other things. So for Gravestone, it's a ranged damage smash, foe minus jump, minus fly. Stalagmite, ranged damage smash, foe disorient, and special. Meteor, ranged location, AoE, damage smashing, foe knockback. I'm going to read this one because it's just so dramatic. You call down a meteor strike from the sky. at a specified location. All targets within 30 feet are caught in the blast radius, taking extreme damage and being knocked the heck back. I added the heck. So yeah. That just looks, I just like pictured it and I'm like, oh, I gotta get to that level so I can see that. That's gonna look cool.
And that one is actually a typo that Bopper caught just before we started recording that is not reflected on your sheet. It's actually 25 feet, not 30 feet.
Okay, so it's all targets within 25 feet are caught in the blast radius. It's still a heckin' amazingly large radius that I need to see that happen.
It is larger than most Sentinel nukes. The standard is typically 20-foot radius, so this one got a bonus 5 feet.
Nice. Sentinel Proliferation Stone Armor. New secondary for Sentinels. This version of the set does not get access to mud pots. Instead, it has a new power called Terra Firma. You can transform your skin into various forms of rock and stone. Stone armor is one of the few Sentinel defensive power sets that offers defense to psionic. That's exciting because I don't like being held, yo. I really don't. I will carry a tray full of break freeze just for that reason. And then we have powers. Our rock armor is a toggle, a self increase to defense for lethal and smashing, and a resistance debuff defense. Stone skin is auto, self plus resistance to all but psionics, plus defense to all but psionics. Earth's Embrace is a self plus HP, so it's your little heal button. Resistance to toxic. Increases your maximum hit points and grants you resistance to toxic damage. And then Terra Firma is an auto self increase to 2-hit, accuracy, range, and resistance to 2-hit, I guess, debuffs.
Right. And this is a unique power for the Sentinel version of Stone Armor. Yeah. So it only works while you're on the ground, but it does give you about a 15% increase to your range, which is nice for Sentinels. You don't have as much range as Blaster Defenders, etc. But you also get an increase to your accuracy. You can slot it for 2-hit enhancements, and you'll buff your to hit, as well as have a resistance to hit debuffs.
Oh, I like that. That's going to be really helpful.
Yeah. And that is just, that's a perfect translation for a Sentinel, I think. That's cool.
And then we have Rooted, which is a toggle for yourself. Gives resistance to knockback, sleep, disorient, hold, endurance drain, and debuff defense, and plus regen. I love the way that this stuff is written. While the power is active, you merge with the earth and draw forth its power. You become resistance, knockback, and all the other things. I love how it reads. Crystal armor toggle, self increase recovery, defense against negative and energy resistance. It resists the defense debuff. And this one's really pretty. This one is the various quartz crystal. Your skin becomes encrusted. That's when it gets really pretty and sparkly. And then minerals, you get toggle, self increase to recharge, defense psionics, resistance against confuse, and then increased perception. Oh, this is the one where you get several rare earth rock minerals to orbit around you. They can disperse thought patterns and make psionic attacks less likely to hit. They bring clarity of the mind, increasing the recharge time of your powers, increasing perception, and making you resistant to confusion. And that's the minerals toggle. Cool. Brimstone armor toggle is this, obviously for yourself. It grants resistance to cold, fire, toxic, and special. Helps your attack, sets your enemies on fire, delivering damage over time. And then the Geo toggle. I don't know if you want to talk about the sub bullet points on here. The DOT damage uses AT modifiers, range damage for attacks with base ranges greater than 20 foot, and melee damage otherwise.
Yeah, in this case, it doesn't matter too much because Sentinel's melee and range damage modifiers are set to the same at 1.1 scale. But how the dot works is it's based on the cast time of the attack, and all of your attacks will get this, where the amount of damage the dot will do, the damage over time, will scale somewhere between something between 0 and 3 seconds. So treat it as a constant DPS increase to your attacks. Doesn't matter what attacks you do, fast, slow, other than Arcana time coming in, it's pretty much going to be the same DPS for any attack you use.
Very cool. And then we've got the Geode, which is a toggle, self increase regen, recovery, invulnerable, self hold. So is this like the hibernate in the ice powers?
It is.
A Geode. That's so cool.
It's a lot like it creates a pet around you, so you're untouchable during this time, but the enemies can attack your the Geode, and it'll break away, and eventually its hit points will be defeated and pop out of it. But while you're inside of the Geode, you will be able to build up the geothermal powers, which are used by the Brimstone Armor's dot proc. So as you're inside, you can build up the strength for your damage over time when you pop out of it. And you could do as much as, I believe, 2.2 times more damage than you typically would.
Sweet.
Nice. Whoa. Pardon me, guys. I'm going to hop in my Geode real quick. I promise I'll help as soon as I'm all powered up. That sounds fun. Is there anything else you wanted to add about the Sentinel additions? Because those are pretty big and pretty fun.
I don't really have much to add. With Sentinels, they typically will use Stalkers as a template for how their armor sets would be. It's just instead of having hide, it gets replaced with something unique. In this case, it was Terra Firma. Going back to Seismic Blast, I'd say there's nothing really there to add. Like you said, it's a range damage set that does smashing damage. Typically, it has a lot of minus defense debuffs, as well as minus fly. So even though you're going to be grounded, you can knock folks out of the sky and bring them to your level.
That'll make a lot of people happy. And that's going to be a real playstyle change for me, because I'm usually the person that's in flight mode just so that if I get knocked down, I just spin. I don't actually go flying across the map,
right.
So
luckily, Sentinels have knockback resistance, so you should be okay.
Yeah. Can't wait to try her out. Then we move on to Dominator Proliferation, Illusion Control. This is a new primary for Dominators. This version of the set does not get access to Spectral Wounds nor Group Invisibility. Instead, it has new powers called Spectral Wall and Gleam. Also, Dominator's version of Phantom Army has its pets not taunt, but rather have attacks utilizing mez and soft control effects. You can manipulate light and sound to manifest all sorts of illusions, aiding your allies as well as deceiving your foes.
It's pretty wild having a controller pet. It'll be fun.
And then for powers, let's see, we've got, there's blind. I guess these are going to be really similar to what we've seen for controllers so far, other than the two that were mentioned. So blind, and then we've got spectral wall, which is a damage over time psionic, foe immobilized, -2 hit. It creates an illusionary wall of specters that prevents enemies from moving. As the foe is surrounded, they take psionic damage over time. And then we've got Deceive, Ranged, Foe Confuse, Spectral Terrors, Summon, Ranged Fear, -2 hit, Superior Invisibility, which is, Chef's Kiss. That is like
one of your favorites.
Gold standard. And then we've got Gleam, which is a ranged targeted AoE, damage psionic, foe disorient. Multiple flashing lights go off around enemies, disorienting and damaging them. Gleam deals minimal psionic damage and can disorient all affected targets for a good while. And then we've got Phantom Army. I'm going to go ahead and read it because it's a little different. It's ranged damage psionic. You can fabricate 3 Phantom heroes around the targeted foe. These phantoms are not real and are indestructible. They deal though they deal damage, it is illusory and will heal if the victim survives long enough. Phantoms are short-lived and cannot be buffed or healed. Is that true for the Phantom Army for controllers? Is it like that spectral wounds, that fake injury where they will heal up again? Have I never noticed that?
I can double check, but I believe that is the case.
Wow.
But I think the heal back is static, so if you enhance the damage.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't enhance the heal back. So you can still have a net gain there.
Okay. So
Interesting.
It's funny if that's true, because I've been playing her since live and I've just never noticed. I guess they don't live long enough.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, is we just roll through things too fast, which is great. That's exactly how it should work, right? And then, of course, since the Dominators, they attacks do mez and soft control effects instead of taunting, which is exciting.
And then there's also the Flash PBAOE foe holds, which is fantastic. I love that power. Phantasm, summon Phantasm, range damage, smash, energy, and psionic. So I know a lot of people that have been talking about being able to play Illusion as a Dominator. I know a lot of people making them, and I really have enjoyed it as a controller. So I'm glad to see more people playing it.
Yeah, it definitely was one of the more popular requests for Proliferation. The challenge was always going to be Phantom Army, especially with its taunting capability. Just felt it would be too strong for a Dominator. So when Powerhouse presented it, we were all a bit surprised that Phantom Army actually stayed. It was tweaked, and I like how the tweak was done. Definitely has its own flavor, doing the soft control and mez. That's a nice substitution. If you try it out, it plays pretty well.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be trying it out. That was my favorite build. I created her for soloing, and she really has been a lot of fun to solo with. And then, of course, also teams. But let's see. And then we get to PvP and supergroup bases.
Yeah, this was an interesting surprise.
Yeah. And they note big thanks to @CR America's Angel for the guide write-up. But our bullet points are pretty clear. PvP raid functionality has been added to supergroup bases. It is not the same legacy base raiding that existed briefly back in issue 6, but rather the ability to initiate PvP activities within supergroup bases. And then they've included a guide for setting it up. There are, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and read it. I'm excited. So there's 2 new revive rings that have been added to the base editor under arcane medical and tech medical settings. They allow you to set up respawn points. There's a revive ring for during the raid, attackers versus defenders. And then there's the revive rings regular, defenders in attackers versus defenders, or everyone in regular free-for-all. And there's a bunch of caps in here specifying that this is terminology that you'll have when you do your raid settings. If no revive rings are placed, players will respawn at the base portal. Heroes and villains can now team in bases. When PvP is active in a base, there are commands that are disabled, including /stuck, /enter base from passcode, and /edit base. /arena list using the LFG queue and using the teleport to contact feature have not been disabled, as these all still work in PvP arena zones just fine. NPCs that sell inspirations should be disabled, as in you cannot have the store open during a raid. All storage except the vault has been disabled. So enhancement bins, salvage bins, etc., because they allow players to force a map server in high item bases. The dimensional shard and base portal have been tweaked a little to stop them from interfering with revive rings. I'd advise base builders to check that these items are not misbehaving. They seem to work fine from the writer's testing. Items that can be destroyed, turrets, etc., respawn when the base resets. A base reset is when the base has been empty for 15 minutes and the zone unloads. Vandalism to bases is not possible, and placed NPCs can be hit, but they are indestructible. This is working as intended. Oh no! One of our servers, I've just got like 6 of each or 8 of each in like little clusters, and like I just like that's gonna be like a mob scene. That's gonna be crazy.
I wanted to add real quick that in the actual patch notes, when it mentioned the guide and write-up, I took it out of our notes document, but there are screen captures on all of the setup screens for SG to set this up. It shows all the different options, all the different sliders and everything. So if you want to get into that, hit those patch notes.
Yeah, you're definitely going to hit the patch notes to get into the depth of that. And there's been a lot of discussion on the forums as well. I have not delved, but there was a lot of discussion going on. So moving on to powers and gameplay adjustments. For Mercenaries, let's see. I'm just going to read what was fixed, and then I'll skim and see if there's anything worth reading. Anything with a lot of numbers, I'm going to skip. Sorry, number cruncher. I'm going to be reading it anyways. Burst Slug and M30 Grenade. Let's see. I've had a revamp. Each of these attacks applies a focused fire tag on the target, and the power's tag will increase mercenary range damage up to a maximum of 10%. Equip Mercenary Henchman passive resistances have been moved to this upgrade. Equip Mercenary now accepts resistance sets and enhancements, and players will be able to improve the Henchman's passive resistances. Tactical upgrade. This power now grants Henchmen passive ranged and AoE defenses, accepts defense sets and enhancements that will boost Henchmen defenses, and players will be able to improve the Henchman's passive defenses. Serum power can now only be activated when targeting a mercenary, and no longer be accidentally wasted by targeting a different pet, like Stark Servant. It now buffs all henchmen. The animation only plays on the main target. Recharge is reduced, from 1,000 seconds to 250 seconds. It no longer has a crash. And it grants strong defensive and offensive buffs that slowly decay over a minute window. Henchmen.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Jen, not sorry. Serum. It is unique in how it was implemented. This is a new feature that we added to the game, where an attribute can decay or grow over time. So normally when you apply a buff or any effect, it's static. It's like, all right, 10% debuff for 10 seconds, done.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to start off with a 75% damage buff for all of your pets when you first cast it. But over the 60 seconds that it plays out, it's going to slowly decline until it hits 0 at the 60-second mark. So it'll be a linear drop-off, but it's just how Serum is going to work.
Interesting.
Cool.
So pay attention, y'all. Henchmen, their entire power was revamped. Powers have been added, adjusted, and replaced. That's what my notes say, everybody. If you got Henchmen, go check it out. For Necromancy, Dark Blast, Gloom, and Life Drain. The powers now have a 70% chance to summon a spectral minion to your side. The specters are temporary, lasting a maximum of 90 seconds as their health fades away by the second. The specters cannot be healed or regenerate, but have decent resistance to all damage and defense against AoE attacks. Specters cannot be commanded or upgraded, but slotting your personal attacks will improve their attack stats. And
Nice.
each attack can only summon one specter for a maximum of 3 if all attacks are used. Did you say something, Chooch?
No, just cool commentary. Not helpful in the least.
Flavor. The henchmen in general powers have been adjusted for area and duration. Zombie Horde can no longer be slotted with heal enhancements or sets. Grave Knights can no longer be slotted similarly, nor can the Lich. And again, that's no longer slotted with heal enhancements or sets. Enchant Undead, Henchmen passive resistances have been moved to this upgrade. Enchant Undead now accepts resistance sets and enhancements. And Lich's Petrifying Gaze has been moved to this upgrade, no longer grants life drain to the Lich. And resistances now grant mag 1 hold and immobilize action, as well as 50% resistance to stun, hold, immobilize. For Dark Empowerment, you can now slot healing sets and enhancements. Lich's life drain has been moved to this upgrade. It no longer grants Petrifying Gaze to the Lich, and slotting this power with heal enhancements will enhance life drain's heal. The range for Dark Empowerment was increased from 30 to 50 feet. Grants a 15% max HP to all henchmen, half enhanceable. For soul extraction, recharge lowered from 600 seconds to 150 seconds. In cost lowered to half of what it was. Only works on active henchmen, not specters. Will extract the soul from each henchman for 30 seconds before the souls vanish. Extracted souls are still linked to their bodily hosts. If the host of a soul is defeated, the soul will also be defeated. And extracted souls no longer uses phase shift and now have 13% positional defenses not enhanceable. For ninja, snapshot, aim shot, and fistful of arrows. Each of these attacks now grants a 3% chance for henchmen to crit for 30 seconds. It does not stack from the same power, but each power can stack together for up to 9% chance if all powers are used. For smoke flash, recharge increased from 90 seconds to 20 seconds. That's nice. Duration lowered from 10 seconds to 3 seconds. No longer requires a target and now hides all henchmen, providing a 100% chance to crit for the squad for 3 seconds. Fuji's, what was that?
I just giggled. Yeah. Crit, 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 crit. We loves the crits.
Kuji and Zen. Oh, sorry. Now Kuji and Sha. This power now grants Kuji, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong. Kuji and Sha, which is a self-heal to all ninjas. This power can be slotted with heal sets and enhancements. Those will enhance your your ninjas' passives. This power increases ninjas' chance to crit by an additional 3% at all times. Train ninjas. This power now grants plus defense passive to ninjas. This power can now be slotted with defense sets and enhancements. Those will enhance your ninjas' passives, and the power increases ninjas' chance to crit by an additional 3% at all times. The henchmen, all ninjas now have a chance to crit at all times. This chance starts at 0%, but can be increased via upgrades and personal attacks. Maximum crit chance outside of smoke flash is 15%. A drink real quick. Y'all feel free to chat for a minute.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll just touch on a couple things. So, kind of quick elevator pitch. What we wanted to do with this revamp was we want to make the personal blast of the mastermind useful in context with the pets and have their attacks work in tandem for smoother performance as well as for theme. So we also wanted to expand on slotting options, especially defensive options with the upgrades and the equips, as well as make sure that the tier 7s were really central to each set. So one of the things you're noticing is each of the attacks kind of has something special that it will do for your pets. Mercenaries, we see that it does a focus fire mechanic where whatever the mastermind attacked, if the mercenaries are also attacking it, it will get a small buff to their damage. And this isn't a damage strength buff, it's a total damage buff. So a 10% would be a true 10%. With necromancy, like I said, you have a chance to summon a spectral minion, and each attack, the minion would be tied to the specific attack. So if you use all 3 attacks, you can get up to 3 spectral minions. Ninjas, you get the crit buffs, and we're about to touch on robotics. Robotics is actually going to be a 200% regen debuff, which gets pulled from what the assault bot used to do. But we'll touch that here in a second when we hit it in the passionates.
Awesome.
Pretty cool. Alrighty, so let's see. Moving on to robotics, we've got Pulse Rifle Blast, Pulse Rifle Burst, and Photon Grenade. These powers now apply a minus 200% regen debuff. Pulse Rifle Blast cast time lowered from 1.87 seconds to 1 second. Pulse Rifle Burst cast time lowered from, again, it's 1.87 seconds to 1.1 seconds. And Repair, now Maintenance Drone. Power has been replaced by... so the power has been replaced by Maintenance Drone. It'll use its own health to heal your other robots. It can't be healed and does not regenerate HP. Once it depletes its health, it will self-destruct, dealing minor damage. This power no longer accepts endurance modification enhancements or sets. Wow. It uses your own health.
Its own health, yeah.
Its own health. I was going to say, damn.
I think this is pretty cool. I thought this was really cool because with my robotics mastermind, Professor 8-Ball, I would just end up spamming repair or set it as like an auto, fire because I'm paranoid. And so having a little bot do it, and then I just watch for that and pop up another one when he goes down. That's pretty cool. I like it.
Awesome. I've only ever done Beast Mastery Mastermind, so I didn't realize that was one that was in. So then we've got Equip Robot. Passive. It grants passive resistances to henchmen. It can be enhanced by slotting the power with resistance sets and enhancements. Now grants repair to protector bots and can be enhanced by slotting the power with healing sets and enhancements. Henchmen cast times trimmed across the board, including personal attacks. Assault bot no longer applies minus region. This effect is now applied by the mastermind personal attacks. Henchmen have had their list of powers revamped, adding a few new powers to improve overall damage. Protector bot's summon power no longer accepts heal enhancements, and henchmen no longer have resistances out of the box. Equip robots is needed to get them. And then we move to Battle Axe, Power Order. For brutes and scrappers, Beheader, Chop, Gash, Build Up, Pendulum, Taunt/Confront, Swoop, Axe Cyclone, and Cleave. For tankers, the order is Beheader, Chop, Gash, Taunt, Build Up, Pendulum, Swoop, Axe Cyclone, and Cleave. The Beheader now have a chance to apply a defense debuff. Chance is tied to the chance to knock down. A slight lowering of cast time. For Chop, you now have a chance to apply a defense debuff. Chance is tied to the chance to knock down also. And another slight cast time lowering. Another for Gash and Swoop. And also for Whirling Axe, they all three have gotten slight cast time lowerings. More significant for Whirling Axe, that's almost a full second. But and then Whirling Axe also was renamed. Whirling Axe is now Axe Cyclone. It's got new visual effects. It has a tractor effect that pulls enemies into melee range.
Ooh.
Sounds cool. And the cooldown is increased to 18 seconds. The damage remains unchanged, and the radius is 15 feet for all archetypes. And as I said, the cast time was lowered by about a full second. Pendulum changed from a cone to a targeted AoE sphere attack with a 7-foot radius. Cleave is changed from a cone to a targeted AoE sphere attack with a 3-foot radius, and the range is increased to 40 foot, but it's not enhanceable. Fire Manipulation, Burn. This power should no longer summon multiple burn patches. Should now hit 5 enemies instead of 4. Procs should no longer trigger multiple times per target when using this power. Burn Flames should now inherit the power accuracy enhancements. Burn Flames now inherit AT classes, caps, and modifiers. And upfront damage now match all other versions. Combustion's cast time lowered from 3 seconds to 2.4. Fire Sword now does pure fire damage. Now grants a small defense debuff and accepts accurate defense debuff and defense debuff enhancements and sets. Fiery Melee's Combustion has a cast time lowering of about half a second. Her mate can now knock down foes and can be slotted with knockback enhancements and sets. Fire Sword now does pure fire damage. It grants a small defense debuff and accepts accurate defense debuff and defense debuff enhancements. Sets. Greater Fire Sword has cast time lowering of almost a full second and now does pure fire damage, small defense debuff, and also it accepts the accurate defense debuff and defense debuff enhancements and set. And Fire Sword Circle, again, we see pure fire damage, accepting the small defense debuff and those enhancements and sets. Fiery Aura. Rise of the Phoenix is now Phoenix Rising. Power can now be used when alive. Can be used when alive?
Yeah, this is pretty exciting.
I know. The effects of this power, damage, healing, and endurance, will be stronger the closer the user is to death. The player power can't be used. Okay, if the player has more than 75% health, they can't use it. And it'll only make the player invulnerable and grant XP protection if the power is used after death. Damage is increased when used while dead relative to live. So it's giving you a boost if you're alive, but it's not going to grant you that invulnerability and XP protection.
Yeah. And then, of course, you risk your cooldown not being there when you actually die, and then now you can't res.
Right. And
It's great. It's going to...
healing and endurance.
Yeah. It was frustrating that it's got a pretty cool, little nuke and all that, but it got used so infrequently because you had to go down to use it. So I really like having that option to use it in both situations.
Absolutely. And then burn. This power should no longer summon multiple burn patches. Power should now hit 5 enemies instead of 4. Rocks should no longer trigger multiple times per target. And they should now inherit the power accuracy enhancements. And Burn Flames now inherits AT classes, caps, and modifiers. While under the effects of Fiery Embrace, Burn will spawn a second burn patch for 4.5 seconds. And then Consume. Power now grants a small max HP buff even if no targets are available or hit. Power no longer needs a target to grant end drain protection. Power is now auto hit. Damage still requires a 2-hit check. And it now takes healing sets and enhancements. Temperature protection. This power now grants Mag 1 knockback protection in PvE. It's strong enough to prevent most knockdowns and some weak knockback. This power now grants unenhanceable regen increase. Healing Flames, cast time lowered from 1.5 to 0.73 seconds. Fields.
So if you want to hold on a sec. Well, so this power set, when we were all the fire powers, when we were playing Wednesday, when we were streaming, we had a viewer who was in their fire farm and just got chewed up. Said like they were like out of endurance and they were taking all this damage and stuff. And so I had, and he was using Briggs' traditional fire farm build on the 125 Cosmic Con map. And so I loaded mine up, and in the background, I alt-tabbed over, and, while we were running missions, I was basically AFK farming. And he stood up. He wasn't taken down, and did clear the map out. I had to nudge him and push him to a couple groups, but survived just fine. So I'm not sure where that puts things. I talked to Brig really briefly about it, and he's going to basically go through it all because a lot of powers are slottable now that didn't have slots before, so that can really affect the build. So I don't know how much this affects fire farming yet.
It depends on what powers the enemies have. So if they were using Fire Sword, or Greater Fire Sword, and I guess Fire Sword Circle, they all now have a defense debuff. So if they're hitting you in a farm, your defense is going to start, cascading, and you can become very vulnerable and could drop pretty quickly. So what farmers or designers of AE farms will need to be paying attention to is, are the powers that they currently have containing these defense debuffs? If so, they may want to redesign it and just not use those powers. You can still achieve 100% reward rate. There's enough folks who've already provided that feedback on the forums on how to do it. He'll just need to adapt his maps to do that change.
Cool.
Right on. And then moving on to force fields, we've got Force Bolt, which is now Repulsion Bolt. Bolt, not boat.
I want a repulsion boat.
I'm on a repulsion boat. Now applies a minus 20% defender values, resistance to all damage for 30 seconds. Version bubble lasts for, the buff lasts for 15 seconds, allowing it to apply if you leave its radius or the toggle drops briefly.
Oh, okay, cool.
Propulsion. So yeah, Chooch, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because you have your J-bot and you were talking about possibly playing it more. So I want to hear your thoughts at the end of the force fields. For repulsion field, combined with force bubble, it now includes a 25-foot radius repel aura alongside a 9-foot radius knockback aura. The larger repel area acts just as force bubble does. No longer drains endurance per target hit in PvE. Ooh, that sounds really important.
That's the reason I never take it.
Yeah. So you were getting an endurance drain per target when you hit folks with repulsion field? Wow.
And you go bam, 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 and you go do, 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 do. So I never took it. Since live, I've never taken it.
It's also very fast activating aura, so you can hit them multiple times and really start draining your endurance quickly.
So if slotted for knockback to knockdown, the repel is also disabled. Ooh, okay. Propulsion bomb now is called force bomb. Activation time lowered, almost cut in half to 1.67 seconds from 3.07 seconds. Wow. Damage lowered to scale 0.6 from scale 1. Stun chance lowered to 10% from 40%. Now uses vectored knockdown and now applies minus 15% defender values. Resistance to all damage for 30 seconds. Force bubble is now damping bubble. Now a click power with 90-second recharge and a 5.2 endurance cost. It summons a pseudo pet at your location that casts a 55-foot radius dampening bubble for 45 seconds. It applies a plus special resistance to yourself and allies using defender values. It's, and again, defender, 43.25% resistance to 2-hit accuracy, perception, slow, recharge, and regen debuffs. 21.63% resistance to defense debuffs, enhanceable with defense enhancements. It applies a minus special to a max of 16 enemies inside the field, minus 43.25% on 2-hit slow, perception, and regen, minus 23.63% for defense. The damping bubble will move to your location if summoned again during its during its duration. That sounds like a fun little friend.
Yeah, normally it's just this bubble that just follows you around, just this kind of dome. And it's a toggle. What was a toggle. So this will be interesting. It seems like it makes you a little more active because it can be a pretty passive role on a team.
Yeah, like once you hand out your bubbles, you're just like chilling.
Right. Well, my controller J-Bot, he's got a mind control as his primary, and then on the force field he just clicks his toggles. He's got 2 bubbles that he passes out every now and then pretty much all he does is holds, is sleepy time. Mm-hmm. Although I do love the fears, but it sounds like this will be a little more active and more endurance friendly. So I'm really excited to try out Repulsion Field for once after all these years.
Yeah. Did you get J-Bot to 50 or is he still lingering?
I think he is 50 finally.
We'll go back on one of those notes. Dispersion
please.
Bubble. The note says dispersion buff lasts for 15 seconds. Just want to clarify, that is not how long the bubble lasts. It's the buff itself. So if you go inside the bubble, it's an aura. It'll keep reapplying a buff onto you. But if you leave the bubble, you can last up to 15 seconds outside of it before that buff drops off. So it just gives you, just run through it, get it. You can run around, do whatever you want, and then come back and reapply it if you like.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
come back from our
that's
sunblock,
really cool.
kids. Come back.
And I just checked. Yeah, J-Bot's a fresh 50. He's got no nothing unlocked, no 0% alpha. He's a fresh 50. Now he'll get a respec and get to business.
Awesome. And then we've got quality of life changes. level availability changes. Let's see, primary sets for non-epic archetypes. So this is something that has most of the people I know like screaming for mids right now because
Right.
mids, it hasn't been updating. If you have it already, it's running fine. I'm running the hell out of it. I'm not updating anything. But people are respecing their characters because they're so excited to get their tier 9 powers and their tier 8 powers earlier, that they're literally respecing their entire characters, like pages and pages of characters.
Yeah.
and, I'm like,
And then not having to select the secondary, the first tier 1 secondary. Yeah.
Yeah.
People are really
Yeah, that was
excited
a
to
good-
open up possibilities.
Yeah, that's a big deal to a lot of people. I looked in both of the tier 1s for me that I have on the 2 that I'm playing most often, Wednesday and Saturday nights. I needed those, it's fine. I have no problems. They're both, well, the blaster isn't, but the healer definitely, she's pain domination. She definitely wanted that first tier power, but I think it's funny that this one little change has everybody stopping playing and going to player management. And that is just like, it's a good change. It's a good change. So yeah, tier 8 powers are moved. You no longer have to wait until level 26. You can select those at 22. Tier 9 powers are moved from level 32 to level 26.
That's for primary.
And that's the primary sets, yeah, the non-epic archetypes. So can I just ask, what was the thinking on making this change? Because I love it, but I don't understand why you guys did it.
Sure. The goal was to be able to, at every level, have a new power unlocked. So with your primary and secondaries, we want to make sure, okay, level 1, level 2, level 4, etc. Something new will unlock for you. The only level you'll notice between the primary and secondary that doesn't unlock before you hit T9 is at level 14. The level 14 is the level at which the tier 3 power and your pull powers will unlock. So it still kind of fits the theme. There's a new power that can unlock at every level when you're leveling up.
Wow.
So, as a quality of life, we wanted to offer up the tier 2 and the secondary to be available at character creation. So you can now skip your tier 1 in the secondary. And as you go all the way through to level, I believe, I think it ends at level 30, you can get, all of your tier 9s by then.
Mm-hmm.
And this also was going to be expanded for epic powers. The original goal was to have the tier 1 available at level 32 for epics instead of 35.
Mm-hmm.
So you would have had tier 1 at 32, tier 2 at 35, tier 3 at 38, tier 4 at 41, so on. Unfortunately, we kind of ran into the the villain epic pools. Those are done at 35. So I was like, oh, that's going to be kind of messy. Trying to mess with that and try to get 32 to unlock for all epic pools. So it was just easier to just stick with 35 for your tier 1 and tier 2. But we did bring the tier 3 up from 41 to 38. And yeah, now if you like, you can build a character, not pick any pull powers all the way until, I believe, level 49, your last pick. Because there should be a primary or secondary or epic power available at every level until that point.
Wow.
Cool. And it's going to be so interesting to see how people find teams are running, because I know a lot of them are like, well, I'm moving maneuvers to later and I'm doing this and that and the other. They're looking at leadership, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see. It's kind of like impactful changes are being made. You know what I mean? It's just going to be really interesting. I'm really excited to see how it plays out.
There are definitely going to be harder decisions to make now that you have more options available to you. It's like, well, do I want my stronger power now, or do I want to go ahead and take this travel power or this other power that I normally did because it was a dead pick anyways?
Yeah.
So, yeah, hard decision. Sorry, guys. But we did offer 3 respects to everyone, so do what you like.
That's fair.
Yeah.
See. So yeah, you guys, it's just so the tier 8 and tier 9s for the primary sets, and then for the secondary sets, again, for non-epic archetypes, Its tier 2 powers moved from level 2 to level 1 at character creation. Tier 7 powers moved from 28 to 24. Tier 8 moved from 35 to 28. Tier 9 moved from 38 to 30. 30. Oh my gosh. Get your aura mission and then go, play around with your new tier 9 power. And then for epic pools, tier 3 powers moved from 41 to 38, like Bopper said. That's just really exciting. A lot of people are going to be, I feel like it gives, it's one of those things that seems like it's probably a small thing for most people, but especially like for role players. I feel like that's going to be an important thing because you can even more tightly shape your character to be exactly what it is that you have envisioned for them to be. And if that didn't include taking your, secondary tier 1 power, then you can take something else now instead of just having to pretend like you didn't have to. It's just cool, all the flexibility folks get in this game. And let's see, hero epic archetypes. Nova moved from level 6 to 4. I mean, there's just like all of them. They all have changes. Like
it's quite a bit. I mean,
3, 4, 5, 6.
You'd like to read if you want to, but basically for the hero epics, there were a lot of powers where 2 things would unlock at the same level, but then there would be a dead level. So we kind of just deconflicted them. So instead of 2 things opening at once, we just moved one of them up. So you're just getting something new at every level with the hero ATs. Yeah. And for the Vs as well, it kind of follows that similar theme.
Yeah. So yeah, it's literally like 11 changes just for the hero archetype, the epic. So you guys can just play and discover those things. And then we've got a stealth toggle exclusivity removal. Player stealth toggles, with the exception of temporary powers, are no longer exclusive. Players can now use multiple stealth toggle powers at the same time. However, the stealth radius, defense, and threat level of these powers will not stack. The strongest effect from these powers will be used, much like how travel power stacking currently works. And then there's a list of powers that fall within these stealth toggle rules. It looks like all of them. No. Arctic fog, cloak of darkness, cloaking device, energy cloak, field operative, infiltration, mask presence, shadowfall, shinobi eerie, stealth, steamy mist, super speed, and superior invisibility. And then we've got various power changes, all radiation, melee, and irradiated ground. This power can now only proc once every 10 seconds and can accept ATOs. Call to arms no longer grants base defense. It grants defense to all types. Edict of the Master now grants toxic defense. Sentinel bio armor, updated descriptions to reflect better what they do. And updated description for Sentinel, Shinobi, Eerie. And then a lot of power bug fixes too. What, baby?
I didn't know if Bopper had any info. I thought you mentioned that stealth toggle was something you'd worked on.
Yeah, this was my project. I can go into any detail you like, or we can run past it. What do you think?
Is there anything that really sticks out to you about this that that was a big
this
motivator?
Was a popular request when travel powers were revamped. Before, as you know, I-27 page 2, I think travel powers also had toggle exclusivity.
Right.
So you can have fly on at the same time as hovering, super jump on at the same time as combat jumping. So afterwards, you were able to use them together. However, only the highest value would apply. Everything else was suppressed beneath it. And so when that was done, a lot of people started asking, hey, what about stealth? Why can't you do the same thing for stealth? Well, the reason why we didn't do it right away was because there's actually a bug with the implementation that was done for travel powers. So I don't know how much you want to go into the nitboy details, but basically there is a stack type called suppress, which is what it's using, where everything can apply on top of each other, but only the highest value is used. Everything else that is less than it gets suppressed. But the bug that comes up is when a suppression event happens. Now, unfortunately, they are similarly named, so this is going to be very confusing as I walk through it. But a suppression event is when you do something or something happens to you, your effects will temporarily turn off. So like if you were running around with super speed on and you attack somebody, well, now you can't have super speed for about 4 seconds. That is a suppression event that applies to your speed, and it just temporarily turns it off. Well, the suppress stack type does not recognize that suppression. It still thinks, hey, that's the highest value. That's still going to be the effect that we're going to apply. So if you had something else, beneath it that was, faster than not having it, it was not being brought up for use. So that's the bug that we had found. But for travel powers, it's not really too much of a big deal. Most of the things that would pair with it have similar suppression events, so everything's off anyways. And things like combat jumping and hover, they're not very fast, so you probably don't even notice it. And I could probably ask you now, did you know of that bug?
Right. No.
I never even noticed it. But with stealth, if we had done the same implementation, it was definitely going to be noticed. A lot of stealth toggles, they don't all follow the same suppression event rules. So, sometimes you can attack, sometimes you cannot. And, if that happens and we use the same stacking type, you would not be able to switch between your stealths while all of them were active. And that would be very annoying, having like 3 stealth toggles running and one of them turns off and the other ones aren't being used.
Yeah.
So it was during page 4 when we implemented toggle suppression on offensive toggles. So if you were mezzed, instead of your toggles turning off, they suppressed.
Yeah.
Well, that implementation was done differently. It didn't use suppression events. It used a target requires. And when I saw that and how it was implemented, it's kind of a eureka moment. It's like, oh wait, I can do this for stealth. So instead of having suppression events, I kicked those out. I moved them to target requirements or effect requirements. And then I used a cancel event to turn off a power if, a suppression event normally would have happened. Like if you attacked, instead of it suppressing, it just canceled the mod completely. And when it's canceled, it's deleted. And when it's deleted, it means that suppressed stack type will know to go ahead and find the next highest and go ahead and apply it. So that workaround is what allowed us to bring stealth toggle exclusivity, to life.
Nice. Do we have any other conflicting toggles like that? We'll get targeted. I think.
Nothing that comes to mind. I mean, the 2 big ones were always the ones with travel powers, like the different kind of travel types, along with stealth.
Yeah.
Now there are some known bugs. It's unfortunate they just came up. As usual, everything gets revealed after it goes live. But
sure.
I'll be working on those and try to get them out. But I don't know when the next patch is going to go out. So unfortunately, anything that may have had the exact same stealth radius, if they're on at the same time, it may glitch on you and sometimes turn off unexpectedly. So it stinks. I'm sorry. I wish I did better. I'll do better next time.
Well, this is still way better than not having. Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody's going to be salty about it because of all the stuff you guys have given us and how hard you're working. And, this stuff is not an exact science. So,
well, what? Let me address one thing that people will be salty about.
please.
So super speed is included in this. Now in the past, super speed was always able to stack with other stealth toggles. So we have now grouped them together. So they no longer stack together. So that is a nerf. And, not everyone's going to be happy. So that was most of the negative feedback we got on this change. So just to address it, this was a tough call for us to make. By having the stealth toggle exclusivity removed, this meant infiltration had a conflict with its suppressed stack type. Because previously, it was already using a suppressed stack type with super speed. So if you had infiltration and super speed on at the same time, their stealths did not stack.
Right.
When we now unlocked all the other stealth toggles to be on with infiltration, we can't, have it both ways. So either everything needed to be grouped together, or we had to pull infiltration and super speed out and have them both be allowed to stack with the other stealth toggles. And we felt that having both the stealth power and infiltration be able to stack with each other, just be too strong from one pool. I mean, that's not, I won't do math in public, but it's a pretty high speed or a pretty high stealth radius for the same pool from two powers. But still, we kind of dug deeper, looked at, what's the history on why does super speed even stealth effect? No other travel powers have, an additional effect. Right. So this kind of goes way back, possibly even in, the original beta days, because super speed used to have the defense effect. And I guess the reason for that was it's a little bit more dangerous running around on the ground level, running through enemies.
Yeah.
With that type of travel power. So they had initially provided defense effect to mitigate that. But really, with all the testing that was done, there was nothing that actually showed that running through at your super speed, got the AI to pay enough attention to you to make you put you into danger.
Right.
So when they took defense away and kind of threw stealth in as, kind of threw them a bone, that was it. I mean, it was just more throwing a bone into it. And I don't know, it never truly made sense that they got it, but we're not going to take it away. We're going to keep stealth with it. We're still going to be able to use super speed how it was before, but we decided it was best to just go ahead and lump it in with the others, remove the stacking capability, but keep its, the stealth effect it's had for, the history of the game.
Right. And how does that work now? Because super speed has that, what is it, intangibility toggle? So
shift.
you phase, phase shift
power
through things? Right.
Yeah.
So that's different.
It is, yeah. It's a separate power that you can activate while super speed is on, and it allows you to run through objects. But it won't apply here.
Gotcha. Ooh.
Very cool. So I think we move on then to power bug fixes, which there are, it looks like, about a dozen of them. I don't think I'll go, well, fuck it, I'm going to go ahead. In for a penny, in for a pound, right? I'm going to read them. Let's see. So power bug fixes, controller, symphony control, impassioned serenade, removed an extra 25-second delay from confuse effect. Dominator sonic assault shriek can no longer be used while mezzed. Hey, that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
That is a fix. Same thing for Dominator Sonic Assault Scream. I feel like I should have been playing those if you could attack stuff while mezzed.
Yeah, you can guess which AT we copied and pasted from.
I think I can. So we have Earth Control Stalagmites. Endurance cost is fixed. Enhancement Coercive Persuasion. Contagious Confusion. Added a 0.5 second delay to confuse proc. Should allow some time for confuse effects from the slotted power to apply prior to checking for the spreading confusion proc. Oh, that's nice.
Can I jump in there for a sec? So this one ties to the first bug that you read off with the impassioned serenade. It was discovered that the way contagious confusion was working, I don't know if everyone knows how this proc works, but basically you have to confuse the target or to have a chance to spread. And what Impassioned Serenade, it had a delay on its confuse. In the case of controller, it actually had 2 delays, so we removed one of them. But it does have a delay, and there is a reason for it. But because it was delayed to apply a confuse, if you slotted the contagious confusion into that power, it would never work. Because it would check for the proc before you even apply the confuse. And because it's not confused, it won't go off. So we decided we'll give it a half-second delay. That should be enough buffer for any future proofing. If we do delayed confuses down the road, it should still be able to work for you, as long as we keep it within that half-second delay.
Wow.
That's a great fix. Let's see. Prestige Utility, Renewal of Light, and Return to Battle. These powers now share a recharge group and should no longer cause doubly long cooldowns when used.
That used to drive me crazy too. Doesn't seem like it should take this long.
Yeah, that was a silly one. It would it's like an order of operations on the tick level, and it would basically apply the recharge twice, and yeah, you get double the cooldown. And really, we already had the capability to use recharge groups, so we should have been doing it from the beginning. So we just gone ahead and applied it. Now it works, like a charm.
Cool.
If procs from bombardment, sudden acceleration, and power transfer are no longer boostable.
Yeah, so basically, with this one, procs you shouldn't be able to enhancement boost because it wouldn't do anything for you. You can't buff the proc with, +1, +5, etc. So these ones were just missed. They're newer newer enhancement sets, and it was just overlooked. So we went through and gone ahead and fixed it. So you can't accidentally waste an enhancement booster on these proc enhancements.
Nice.
Gotcha. Let's see. Munitions mastery, freeze ray. Tentable version effects now always fires from the correct point of the rifle. It's the little things, right? For mastermind traps, web grenade, this power should now accept slow enhancements. That'll help. Sentinel, bio armor, rebuild DNA, offensive adaptation now grants an increase to perception and resistance to perception. Efficient adaptation now grants additional endurance. Temporary powers nullifier, all versions are now disabled in the PvP arena. And we're moving on to character customization improvements, unless there's anything else y'all wanted to talk about. The powers and gameplay adjustments. There's a lot there.
No? Yeah. No, nothing for me. Character customizations is a huge section too.
Holstered weapons system. So the holstered custom weapons for Arachnos, Assault, Munition, Mercenary, Mastermind rifles. So characters with those rifles now have access to the option to display their character's rifle model on their costume, controlled via a toggle button next to the weapon, just like sheathed custom weapons. Remaining ranged weapon sets will be added to the holstered weapons system in a future update. That's got a lot of people really excited. Custom weapon adjustments and fixes. Arachnos rifles renamed from A, B, C to rifle, SMG, and shotgun to better describe what they look like. Fixed an issue where mercenary mastermind rifles were missed for the firing point desync fixes. Wave 2 Ether Prestige rewards. Let's see. Ether Prestige costume additions and updates. The Prestige costume icons have been simplified. There are now only 4, and they correspond to the tier/rarity of the costume. Tier 1 is common or white. Tier 2 is uncommon yellow. Tier 3 is rare orange. Tier 4 is very rare purple. Okay, so mode has been dropped from the names of costumes that change based on the body type of the user, and they no longer incur a price increase on the Benevolabs vendor. Costumes that change based on the user's body type have been noted in Benevolab vendors' offerings and in the custom powers descriptions. Some specific prestige costumes have had sheath/upholstered weapon displays enabled on them for specific body types. This means your normal costume's body type must match the costumes in order for the weapon to display. The type that inherits is noted in the description. Costumes that are compatible have been noted in the Benevolab vendors' offerings and in the custom powers descriptions. And then it shows us a little screen that says this costume will change depending on your character's body type, or this costume will display sheathed holstered weapons on all body types.
Cool.
Look for these on the vendor if you're interested.
No surprises.
Yeah, keep it simple. Stupid for us stupids. I was playing with that the other day, and I'm really excited to actually earn some ether, enough ether to buy something.
I want all my minis.
Yeah,
Miniature of each character.
Oh my God. Like the rest of your life, baby, to be gathering ethers. So let's see. The 2 Vanguard costumes are now considered Tier 1 and match all standard specifics of that tier. The missing Wave 1 Tier 1 costumes that changed based on the body type have been enabled and priced at 10 prismatic ether salvage each. There's 41 new Wave 2-Tier 1 costumes that have been added to the selection. For Tier 2 Legacy costumes, the Tier 2 costumes have been enabled, priced at 100 prismatic ether. So Tier 1 is 10 each. Tier 2 is 100 each. Yeah, 10 each. And then, so for Tier 2, the costumes feature discontinued appearances. Initial Wave 1 Tier 2 costume offerings can be found on issue 27, page 4's patch notes. And Costume Legacy Circle Mage has been renamed to Costume Legacy Circle Ruin Mage. There are 5 new Wave 2 Tier 2 Prestige costumes that have been added. And for the Tier 3 Premium costumes and effects, those are priced at 250 prismatic ether particles each, and it features rewards that can change or enhance the looks of your costumes. The rewards are advanced customization offerings that are limited for social and or game performance reasons. And again, this is Tier 3. Effect powers are their own category of costume enhancement, and only one can be active at a time, but they can be used at the same time as a costume power. The pop menu accolade disable costumes option will disable these effect powers. As of issue 27, page 5's release, there are 3 Tier 1 rewards featured. Costume Mini Mode that featured in last page's notes and makes your costume's model very small. Mini Mode costume cannot be used in PvP. And then Effect Ghost, which makes your model transparent and adds spectral glow. Tint of the glow can be customized and the transparency turned off in the power customization menu. That is so cool. Effect Shadow, which darkens your model's lighting and adds glowing eyes. Tint of the eyes are customizable, or the eyes turned off in the power customization menu. Tier 4 Deluxe costumes, 1,500 prismatic ether each. This tier features costumes that have bizarre looks and oddities you won't see elsewhere. As of page 5's release, the first offered Tier 4 costumes will be Costume Undefined Mode, which was formerly named Mode Costume Blobby previously. Another will be made available in a few months. Costume Undefined Mode automatically comes with Costume Mini Undefined Mode for free when purchased. I love
Very
that.
cool.
The mini version of this costume cannot be used in PvP, and the costume's functionality has been upgraded. It now inherits various elements from your normal costume when used, making it possible to create some interesting and unique looks with it. There are seasonal prestige. Does anybody want to talk about any of those?
I was just going to say that on the stream and in the patch notes, there are actually pictures for all of these. Pictures of all the new costumes, pictures of the mini mode, pictures of the ghost effects and all that. That you, if you're only listening to the podcast, you can go check out.
Highly recommend you go look at the pictures. They are awesome. Then we get into the seasonal prestige costume editions. They are now considered Tier 1 and match all standard specifics of that tier. 2 new Halloween prestige costume rewards have been added to the various Halloween salvage vendors, priced at 10 prismatic ether particles plus 50 of each Halloween salvage type. Wow. So Costume Ancient Vampire and Costume Arisen Mummy. Those are such cool costumes.
Yeah, I love the mummy model.
So that'll be, so to get, you already got it?
No, I just mean, well, we've been fighting him while we trick or treat, and I just love how the mummy looks. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 10 prismatic aether particles and 50 of each Halloween salvage type to get those. Oof. A lot of trick-or-treating. Luckily, people are trick-or-treating around the clock right now. At least on Homecoming Excelsior. For prestige costume fixes, fixed an error with costumes using player beast standard movement animations not using the correct set. Male Eidolons, costume having an extra boot. an extra boot, so he still had 2 feet, but an extra boot. Interesting. Fixed missing belt on Nemesis Lieutenant costume. I would imagine.
Finally! God damn. No, just kidding.
I bet that I bet you can run faster in that costume without the give a speed boost.
Like a three-legged race.
Yeah. But you only have 2 legs. So it's gonna slow you down. So let's see. We also have various additions and enhancements. Badges. There's badge changes. The Womp Womp badge for defeating immature Aragon Protectors has been renamed to Ankle Biter. Vanity Pets. Additions and updates. 3 new vanity pets offered by Luna, corresponding to the various City of Heroes retail release anniversary months. These pets will be available for purchase each year during these months. During May, the City of Heroes anniversary pet mini statesman vanity pet power for 2004 reward merits. I love that. Even the number of reward merits is awesome. Sorry.
Right.
November City of Villains anniversary pet mini Lord Recluse vanity power for 2005 reward merits. That's awesome. And then August Going Rogue anniversary pet mini Tyrant vanity pet power for 2010 reward merits.
And they are just adorable.
I haven't looked at the pictures of those yet. I didn't realize those. I didn't get this deep into the notes by myself. Let's see. Pet Mini Hero 1 Vanity Pet Power has been added to the Vanguard crafting table offerings under Vanity Pets priced at 10,000 Vanguard merits. All older Vanity Pets have been given the improved movement speed that the newer Vanity Pets received, which should help them keep up with their owners. The naming scheme for Vanity Pets has been standardized to pet name. Like prestige costumes, Vanity Pets will also now display on a character's info window, so players with large collections can show them off.
I shared my screen real fast if you want to see the pets. And need your reaction to the pets.
Oh my god.
Like a little
cute.
recluse.
Honest to God, watching our grandson running around right now with a Superman costume, this is like I kind of need
Spider-Man,
him. Yeah. I kind of need him. What did I say?
Superman,
yes, Spider-Man, sorry. But I really like this is what he looks like in those. I love that it looks like a little kid in a car.
right? Now you can have your characters look like that.
Those are so awesome. Hero 1. So yeah, you can get a mini Hero 1 for 10,000 Vanguard merits. Well, now you guys have something to spend those Vanguard merits on. There are new emotes, proliferated emotes, /EM space Kneel 2, Kneel 3, Kneel 4, and Kneel 5. And that's KNEEL, not the name Neil. The pose Neil. When setting up an arena match under arena options, there are now 4 more options listed under more options, including no passive resist bonuses, no incarnates with alpha slot enabled, no incarnates with alpha slot disabled, and sudden death tiebreaker phase. It defaults to off. Rated matches will now also function properly, meaning not forcing any arena options. You may need to set up the arena options you want before clicking the rated button, however. So for supergroup bases, we've got some new items, a basic reclamator for the raid and resurrection circle raid base items, which allow for attackers during supergroup based PvP to revive at those locations rather than at the supergroup entrance portal. We've got some task updates and adjustments, removed badge requirements that prevented Praetorians from running arcs from Ambassador, Correct, and Johnny Sonata and Ouroboros. Imperious Task Force, advanced difficulty. Vandal is now using more advanced AI and should be no longer prone to go on running away sprees. Vandal's ambush now spawns closer to the player's team's location, meaning he should arrive sooner and be less prone to getting lost on his way there. And when Nictus Romulus escapes to the chamber of the Emperor, he will take any living barrier novas with him. And Mage's Task Force. All of the defeat objectives in Mission 2 must now be cleared in order for the mission to complete.
That's fair.
For enemy group updates and adjustments, Arachnos fixed an issue that was causing Lord Recluse to only use Spider Strike when specifically between 50 to 25 HP instead of any time below 50%. And the eye glow effects on Crab Spider and Bane Spider NPCs has been improved. Devouring Earth fixed an error with the Dr. Aeon Strike Force Devoured's tentacles not being tinted the right color. For Hero Core, the Major has been given powers and is no longer incapable of defending himself against players. Nice. For Trolls, the Skyway City's Super Troll Ravers have paid for Paragon City's finest facial reconstruction plastic surgeons, and now their heads do not morph wildly while they are moving. They're free to rave uninhibited until heroes come to stop them. And then, of course, we have City Zone updates and adjustments. Atlas Park has added the seasonal map switchover. We have our beautiful pumpkins everywhere. The October Halloween variation of Atlas Park should now be active. In November, it should automatically transition to the autumn map variant. In December, it should automatically transition to the winter map variant. And in January, it should return to the standard non-seasonal map variant. Well, that's what I have for the patch notes.
Wow.
Is there more?
That's them.
Wow, so many changes. And I know folks are like, oh, we were hoping for new content. This was a lot. This was a huge amount of fixes.
And we just got new.
Adding the new power.
I was just saying we just got new content in page 4.
Yeah. Amazing.
Very, very cool. That's yeah, really great changes. I think they're great changes overall. People always take issue with things no matter what. The internet exists. But I think they're pretty cool.
I think you should be proud, Bopper.
I'm definitely proud of the team. I hope more people like it than not, and we're just going to keep trying to do our best and make the game as well as we can.
I think people are definitely liking it. You've definitely got people back in and playing. They're respecing, they're playing ITFs again. They're doing all kinds of stuff, and they'll definitely have got some brains working, some minds going, and some new character concepts are happening too. So great job. We appreciate y'all so much.
For real.
I'm just happy to provide.
So if I could ask, what do you like playing the most when you log in just to play, not to do programming? What do you like to play?
Kind of like playing a bit more casually, so I really like going with the tanker. I like just jumping in, the ruckus and let them all come to me, and I'll just, punch heads for a while and know that I could stand up to it. So that's usually my go-to. But before that, I'd say defenders. I do like playing support. I like, doing debuffs and, make the team stronger as well. So those are kind of my two mains.
Very fun.
All right. Any parting shots from you, Bopper? Anything you want to promote?
No, thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun, and I hope the inside details were helpful.
I find it fascinating, so, who cares if anybody else... No, just kidding. I think these insights are really great. I think it's really cool. I think it's a real extra service to the community. All right.
Absolutely.
we're going to wrap up this episode. Like we said, we are no longer doing scheduled City of Heroes episodes, which we were attempting to do bi-weekly and failing miserably. But we will be doing new episodes when we have patch notes like this. And you never know, we may have the occasional interview or something drop in as well. You can always catch us streaming on twitch.tv/vividmuse. We do excuse me. I don't want to speak for Viv. We do we do streams on Vivid Muse's channel. Do you want to tell us about your streams, Viv?
Well, you were doing great, but yeah. So Wednesday nights at 7:30 Eastern, myself and Chooch and our friend Trauma Train Rich, who Rich says hi, Bopper.
Hey, Rich.
We team up and we do Red Side only. We do Wicked Wednesdays where we play only Red Side missions. We pause our XP earning and we try to touch every single contact. We try to get as much of the dialogue as we can. You can't get all of it, but you can get a lot of it. And so that's what we're doing so that we can kind of, we missed this game for 1,000 years. Maybe it was 7. I'm not sure. I didn't look and add it up, but it felt like 1,000 years. And for the first 2 years, we just played, worried that it was going to be taken away from us. And now it's like, okay, well, I don't remember these storylines. I don't remember this. I don't remember that. So we're going through and we're reading everything. And that's Wednesday nights for Red Side. Our Blue Side night is usually Saturday night, but right now we are running Gold Side campaign. We are, on Wednesday nights, we're like level 29. On Saturday nights, we do Gold Side, which is myself and Chooch, and again, Trauma Train Rich, and another streamer and player named Griblaja. And I did that on Blue Side night, on our hero night, because I didn't realize just how dark the Gold Side gets. So it's more of a purple night than a blue night, but
right.
Yeah, when we hit 20, if we continue these characters up to 50, then we will go to Blue Side. But we do that every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern on my channel. And it's a lot of fun. We usually do readings and stuff in the beginning of the night. And then later in the night, we will switch to community stuff and just invite people to teams and smash around. And that's usually on Excelsior server on Homecoming. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And then I stream other games too, but we're only here to talk about City of Heroes. So that's all we're going to talk about. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, so those are our...
We're not number crunchers. We're casual players and stuff like that. So I can't talk about what takes 0.25 seconds to recharge and that stuff. I can't talk to that level, but I'll talk all day with you about your character build, about your character you've created and written a backstory about, all that stuff. And a lot of fun, though. We sure do love this game still.
Absolutely. Cool. So that's all the news from us, and we will catch you some next time.
Well, that was solid.
Right?
Well said.
We'll catch you someday in the future.
When there's patch notes to read. All right.
Or something else fun.
As always, thanks for tuning in. Thank you so much for your reviews on iTunes and Spotify and those. It really helps people find the show. And this just great community. Thanks again to all of the devs. And yeah, see you soon. Good hunting, heroes and villains.
Praetorian.
This podcast, its hosts, and websites are not in any way affiliated with NCSoft, Cryptic Studios, or Homecoming servers.
All views expressed are solely of the hosts and their guests.
This podcast is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike license, which is explained in detail at CoHPodcast.com.
Good hunting, heroes.